Welcome to Quest Field in Seattle, the 12th man and a sellout in what should be a good one today. Week 13 begins with the Eagles and the Seahawks. Welcome to the all-time rosters franchise. Nick Grice and Hank Cinnamon in what should be a spectacular game between bitter conference rivals. Seattle's had the number of Philadelphia for years, but the Eagles certainly have got to win this one for a playoff spot. Westbrook to the 22, one of the best dual threats in the history of the game, takes the field for Philadelphia, and Randall Cunningham, the Pro Bowler out of UNLV. 2,325 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. He comes in top 8 in the league in completion percentage, what has been a very strong year, and he's coming off his best game of the season against the Patriots last week. Outcut to Pijos, who makes the catch. First down, Philadelphia.
Yeah, one of the things that the Eagles have to do in this game is they've got to establish a run, and they have to make sure they don't turn the ball over, because teams that played against the Legion of Boom were very susceptible to turnovers, and the Eagles specifically, in many of their losses against the Seattle Seahawks throughout the years, they've lost that turnover battle.
Yeah, and to your point, the running game has been the calling card for the Eagles, but they come out with 3 straight throws to begin the game. Cunningham deep to Pijos, who sheds a tackle, and Pete Pijos is gone. Touchdown, Philadelphia.
Now, there's one of those things that the Legion of Boom and the Seattle Seahawks aren't necessarily known for. They're known for being sure tacklers, and on that play, Pete Pijos was definitely able to get by quite a few guys in order to get to the end zone. Great blocking as well.
Yeah, and to your point, Earl Thomas, one of the better tacklers of the Legion of Boom era, missed the tackle, and Pijos is in for 6. He's on the heels of his first 100-yard game last week against New England, another 67 yards and a touchdown in the first minute and 18 seconds of the game. Eagles in front on Thursday night. Warren downs the ball for a touchback in a showdown of 2 of the best dual threats in NFL history. The other guy, a perennial Pro Bowler out of NC State, Russell Wilson. Only 4 touchdown passes for him this season, Hank. A bit surprising numbers out of Russell Wilson.
We must be getting the Denver Broncos Russell Wilson here, because he did not do that very much as a Seattle Seahawks quarterback.
Absolutely not. He hands straight ahead to Alexander for the gain of 5. Whether it be the Broncos, the Seahawks, or anywhere else, Wilson is the 4th highest rated passer in NFL history. Largent and Blades are his receivers to throw to tonight. Jimmy Graham, a tight end, along with that guy, Sean Alexander, the 2005 NFL MVP, joining Max Strong in the backfield. Glad you're with us, Nick Grice and Hank Cinnamon from the 12th man in Quest Field. Slant to Blades, first down.
He's the guy with knives on his hands, and he catches that ball down the right side or the left side to get the first down.
Now, Blades, 3rd in Seahawks history in receiving. He was a fabulous wideout in the 90s for Seattle. First run of the day for the dual threat Russell Wilson. Gain of 12 and a first down.
Usually when you have situations where the defense is playing man and the middle of the field is wide open and everyone's covered, if there's a lane up the middle, the quarterback can definitely take it for a big gain.
Alexander buried to the backfield by a host of tacklers led by the Eagles' Fletcher Cox. Brian Dawkins, Reggie White, Chuck Bednarik, Eric Allen, and Asante Samuel lead the way for the number 8 defense in the all-time roster franchise in Philadelphia. But the player to watch, Asante Samuel, you saw there on the right, he is one of the 3 defensive backs of the Eagles who are out for today's game. And Samuel's, in fact, out for the year with a broken collarbone. Eagles short-handed on defense.
Yeah, Asante Samuel was one of those cornerbacks who, he'd always stand back there and he'd always try to pick routes and get interceptions that way. He wasn't one of those super shutdown corners. He was really good in zone.
That pass incomplete to number 82, Darrell Jackson. With Samuel out, the Eagles, those big play cornerbacks, they're going to lean on some of their reserves to make those plays. They do their job on this drive. The best punter in Seahawk history sends away his first of the day, Michael Dixon. That bounces to the 5 and rolls to the 1-inch line. What a punt.
That's an amazing punt there. Usually you got to angle those to the sideline in order to get a punt like that. Ryan Westbrook definitely should have tried to return that, but usually unless it's like a rainy or a damp day, it's not just going to roll to the 1 yard line like that.
You couldn't have drawn it up any better. Eagles better be careful. With the crowd on its feet, they'll run it with the Hall of Famers. Steve Van Buren's wrapped up at the 4. After the Eagles lost last week to the Patriots, they are now 2 games back of the division lead Dallas Cowboys have at 7-4. Giants, with their Monday night win at the Saints, are now 6-5. Philly and Washington bring up the rear at 5-6. Must win. First run of the season for the man they signed last week, Saquon Barkley, wrapped up by Green in a gain of 1. Eagles offense loaded with Hall of Fame talent. McDonald and Quick are the receivers, Pete Retzlaff at tight end, and Weaver joining Van Buren. But Barkley is expected to have a bigger workload as the season progresses. He was signed with the injury to Samuel, and they have 3 outstanding running backs with the all-time Eagles. Saquon Barkley joining the new guy in there, LaShawn McCoy. He's in the block on 3rd down. Cunningham fires, and that's nearly picked off by Wagner.
Yeah, usually when it's a 3rd down and you're in the shadow of your own end zone, you just got to be trying to do anything you can to advance the ball and try not to get any turnovers.
Greatest punter in Eagle history, Donnie Jones sends it to Ingram at the 42. And the Motors at the 49-yard line. A run back of 9, and Seattle's set up with good field position, but this offense has really struggled all year. And you saw the numbers of Russell Wilson. The Seahawks rank 30th in the league in yardage. Alexander the call, and he is stuffed to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, Sean Alexander here. He's the best running back in Seahawks history, and he's one of those guys who you really wouldn't know that he was that great of a running back, but coming out of Alabama, he was doing some crazy things with the Seahawks for a good 5 years until he fell off after his Madden curse season.
Yeah, his 27 rushing touchdowns in 05 are the second most by a running back in NFL history. Only LaDainian Tomlinson with more. Wilson under duress immediately. That play didn't stand a chance, and Concrete Charlie, while there's plenty of injuries in the secondary, he's been a mainstay all year at the linebacker spot, and he makes another big play for Philadelphia, his 4th sack of the year. We'll see if Dixon can pin it to the 1 yard line again. The ball bounces to the 2 and just drifts in. Touchback.
Concrete Chuck was one of those guys who played both sides of the line, 60-minute man, and ironically his number was 60. So he was able to play both the offensive line and the defensive line, or as a linebacker, excuse me, and he was able to be a sure-handed guy in helping the Eagles win the 1960 NFL championship.
Seahawks have a pretty good linebacker, too, in Bobby Wagner. He joins Richard Sherman and Earl Thomas of the Legion of Boom defenders, along with the Hall of Fame tackle Cortez Kennedy and Kenny Easley. That's the defensive starters for Seattle. Sherman beaten on the outside by McDonald on the final play of the opening quarter. We've played 8 minutes on Thursday night. It's the Eagles by a touchdown. Second quarter coming up next. Nick Rice and Hank Cinnamon, Philadelphia and Seattle, bitter rivals out of the NFC, meet on Thursday night to begin Week 13. As the Eagles switch sides, they'll begin the second quarter with a quick throw out of Cunningham, and he finds one of his favorite targets, a gain of 5 to Mike Quick.
Yeah, coincidentally, the Quick receiver his last name is Quick. I don't know if that was planned by his parents. You're definitely going to be an athlete, but he is quick, and his last name is Quick, too.
Well, Steve Van Buren, they don't have a nickname for him, but he was as rough and tough as they come during the 1940s. And the Hall of Famers got a first down, and he did it the hard way, right between a couple of Seattle defenders. McCoy, the backup, across midfield, for the gain of about 8.
LaShawn McCoy did have a nickname. His name was Shady McCoy, and he was actually called Shady McCoy for a reason, because when he was a baby, he had so many mood swings that his parents nicknamed him Shady.
I do wonder what the nickname of Andy Reid would be, because he has gone deep into the bag of tricks, play call wise and running back wise. Another running back change. Here's Barkley on the gut run for the gain of 7.
Oh, to answer your question, it was either the Walrus or it was Big Red, which he got that nickname when he was the Eagles head coach, and no one really knew that he was going to be the Chiefs head coach, and it actually made more sense him being called Big Red as the Kansas City Chiefs head coach.
Well, you know, he also could have been called Houdini, to be quite honest with you. Very few guys were as innovative as Andy Reid. He is the lead coach for the all-time Philadelphia franchise, on the sideline of the Eagles for 14 years. Jet sweep, Mike Quick across the first down, and is wrapped up at the 24. But Quick is hurt on the play. This is one of the most electrifying wide receivers in the history of the franchise, like you mentioned. He is the league leader in receiving average in the all-time roster franchise, but gets hurt on the run. First down with Quick out of the game. Over the middle to Pijos, his favorite target today. First down, Philadelphia.
Yeah, losing Mike Quick is a really tough thing for the Philadelphia Eagles, because he can go down the field. He's a sure hand receiver. Not a good sign.
Retzlaff sheds a Brown tackle. He was wrapped up at the 7 by Easley. Now, Quick brings plenty of experience and talent to this offense, but if there is any franchise, especially in that division, that can overcome the loss, it is the Eagles, who have plenty of receiver talent. Same at running back, but it's Van Buren who lost the ball. Picked up at the 10-yard line by Brown. He's got no one in front of him. Brown to the 50, and Dave Brown's going to bring it 90 yards for a Seahawk touchdown.
That's one of those situations where it's a backwards pass and the running back was unable to recover. You just got to try to bat that out of bounds, try to take the penalty. But that's 7 free points for the Seattle Seahawks on a drive that was going very well for the Eagles.
Dave Brown, star out of the 80s for Seattle after winning a Super Bowl with Pittsburgh. That, of all the great plays he's made in his day, that was one of the easiest. A scoop and score with no eagle in sight. And Wilbert Montgomery, who is the 4th string running back for the Eagles, also a very talented player and a league leader in scrimmage yards back in 1979. He really doesn't get much play at running back. Meanwhile, Cunningham goes deep to a star receiver who is absolutely wrecking havoc on Richard Sherman. First down.
Kind of sad for Richard Sherman, because he keeps getting burned by this white, end. What they called them an end back then.
That's what they did.
That shouldn't happen, but he's a Hall of Famer, so he's gonna get those
False start.
plays.
Offense. First down.
False start on Jason Peters to back him up 5. 4 catches for 126 yards and a touchdown. And Pete Pijos, the end out of the 50s for Philadelphia, 2-time NFL champion, 5-time All-Pro, fabulous player. Wistert, who is in for the many fatigued players at receiver, has got a first down going into the final 2:10 of this first half. Pete Pijos, though, what's amazing, he came into the NFL after serving in the Army in World War II. I mean, what a fascinating story he is, turning into a legendary wide receiver and the best player on the field for the Eagles tonight. Pijos joins Harold Carmichael, Tommy McDonald as the Hall of Fame wideouts for Cunningham in this offense. Harold Jackson, Mike Quick, and A.J. Brown round out the receivers for Philly. A sack here from Green. Timeout, Seattle.
Number 79 is there for the sack on the play.
This is one of those situations where you want to get yards. David Akers is a sure-footed kicker, but you want to make sure that you can get in better position.
And Lofa Tutupu prevented that from happening. And Pete Carroll, greatest coach in Seahawk history, patrolling the sideline for the Seahawks for 14 years, calls timeout. Akers hits another one, that from 48. And Philadelphia has the 10-7 lead.
Yeah, playing well on defense are the Eagles. You have to make sure that you just make one more stop with this team so that you can go into halftime with the lead.
Warren tripped up by Brown at the 21-yard line. The 5-6 all-time Eagles, one game back of the final wild card spot in the NFC. Seattle 2 games behind and have all but lost any chances of winning the division. Jerome Brown with the sack of Russell Wilson, and the Seahawks, with an interesting decision here, will call timeout.
Now the Seahawks should be trying to get off the field if they can't get this one.
Pressure's coming, and Jerome Brown got him again. He was shaken up last week against New England, Boston, but has come back in a big way. The 2-time All-Pro to Miami with a pair of sacks to just completely dismantle the Seahawk drive. Timeout, Philadelphia.
See, what that timeout did with Seattle was give the Eagles more time. If you get sacked on the first play of one of those series, you want to be doing all that you can to make sure that you don't get the ball in the hands of your opponent with that much time. I know Randall Cunningham isn't Tom Brady, but you know, if they get 10 or 15 more yards, they might be able to get some points.
And now Cunningham, with 73 seconds and a timeout left, has the ball in Seahawk territory to begin the drive. He gets rid of it to McDonald, who makes the one-hand snag. Short of the first down, but a big play for Philadelphia to enter field goal range. Cunningham is hit, and now out of field goal range is Philly. It's a sack from Green.
Yeah, he had to have gotten that ball out of his hand much faster. You needed 1 yard.
Second sack of the day, 5th of the year for the franchise leader in sacks, Jacob Green. That pass incomplete. Number 23, Marcus Trufant defending. And it's amazing to think Philadelphia had the ball at the 46 of Seattle and scored nothing with it. Donnie Baga-Jones-Bones, greatest punter in Philadelphia history, drives the ball through the end zone for a touchback.
Yeah, Donnie Baga-Bones-Jones was one of those guys who always punted well. I think there was one instance where he came onto the field wearing sweatpants in a meaningless game against the Dallas Cowboys in Week 17. Oh!
It's an interception. Former Saint and legendary Eagle with the interception, his first of the year, Malcolm Jenkins.
Back to my point, yeah, he showed up onto the field wearing sweatpants, and he had to take them off before he punted. I guess he just wasn't expecting to punt that day, but the Eagles lost 7-0 or 6-0.
Donnie Jones has punted plenty for the all-time Eagles, his 40th. Led to no Seattle points, and now Philadelphia's got the ball in the red zone, and Marcus Trufant takes it right back as he picks off Cunningham in the end zone.
Yeah, it's not a very good choice by the Eagles. I know you don't have any timeouts remaining, but you don't want to be giving the ball back to Russell Wilson with enough time.
And they'll go ground with Alexander, who is stuffed. This Seattle offense has been completely shut down by Philadelphia today. The Seahawks have a total, Hank, of -10 rushing yards today. A disastrous performance for Seattle, considering Walter Jones of that offensive line and that guy running the ball. It's amazing they have yet to do much of anything against Jerome Brown, Reggie White, and the Eagle defense. And with that, Philadelphia leads it in Seattle. Halftime, Philadelphia 10, Seattle 7. Quest Field, home of the 12th man, and that crowd was going crazy when Dave Brown caught the lateral off of the fumble of Steve Van Buren for the touchdown to tie the game. And that is essentially the only play of note for the all-time Seahawks today. It's amazing they're down a field goal as Philadelphia has outgained Seattle 210-11. Alexander, 7 carries for 7 yards today. Joyner, the stop of the line. Really, it's amazing Seattle's in the game, and more amazing, they have yet to do much of anything. This is a talented offense. Walter Jones, no targets today for Hall of Famer Steve Largent, and that continues as Wilson goes down. Fletcher Cox with the sack.
Yeah, like I said, you don't want to turn the ball over against the Seahawks or they'll make you pay. The Eagles have been in the red zone 3 times and have really only been able to get 1 score out of it.
Pass incomplete. Number 80.
Meanwhile, Seattle has faced 4 third downs tonight and have converted none of them. That was wide right of Steve Largent. Michael Dixon in for his 3rd punt of the day, and it is another beauty. Driven all the way to Westbrook at the 37-yard line. He's drilled by Strong at the 46. Thursday Night Football, Nick Rice and Hank Cinnamon in a must-win for both in the all-time rosters franchise. Philadelphia had the unfortunate task of playing the brutal NFC East, and that continues with 2 games against the division to close the year. Cunningham with a scramble of 3. And Bobby Wagner makes the stop.
Coincidentally, the Eagles just beat Bobby Wagner for the first time this year as well, as he was a linebacker on the Washington Commanders.
Interception from Kenny Easley, and he is down to midfield. The Hall of Famer with his 2nd interception of the year. Randall Cunningham just looks flustered right now.
Yeah, he's going at these passes way too quickly. He could have sat in there and waited a little bit. You have to find your mark when it comes to playing against this defense.
Alexander the call, and he picks up about 4. To your point of Bobby Wagner, him and the Seahawks have had the number of Philadelphia, Hank. Eagles during a span of 15 years from 2008 through 2025. This is a team that lost 8 in a row to the Seahawks, and quite a few of them was no contest. First down, Russell Wilson, just the 3rd first down of the ball game for Seattle.
Yeah, and like I said, if you keep giving turnovers to the Seattle Seahawks, you're going to lose your morale, and Russell Wilson is going to pick things up.
Alexander stuffed by Brown. Well, Philadelphia began the day with a sensational drive, 4 plays in 1 minute and 18 seconds. Pete Pihos with the touchdown, but Seattle has really roughed up the Eagles up front, and Darrell Jackson here gains 9, and all of a sudden, Philadelphia is reeling here. Sheldon Brown, you just saw there, one of the DBs in for the injuries, many of them in the secondary for Philadelphia today. He's another one of those talented but unheralded players keeping things close for Philadelphia on defense. 3rd down, and Alexander's got the first, dragged down to the 16.
Sheldon Brown, a guy who for years led the Eagles in turnovers for touchdowns, but actually never made a Pro Bowl.
He's also 2nd in pass deflections in Eagles history. Really a talented player. Wilson throwing right it up for grabs to Lynch, and Troy Vincent couldn't make the catch.
Like I say again, if you don't catch those easy interceptions, you might allow points.
It almost seems inevitable for Seattle now. A 5-yard gut run to the backup Marshawn Lynch. Beast mode during the early 2010s, joining Sean Alexander, Kurt Warner with a C, and Chris Warren as the running backs on this franchise. Seattle 0 for 4 on 3rd down. They go with the screen pass to Warner, and it looks like he's a bit short. Troy Vincent made the stop, and indeed he was. 4th down coming up.
Yeah, in a modern-day NFL, you'd think they'd probably use beast mode to run the ball up the middle, but it looks like they'll go for the field goal.
Chip shot out of Steven Hauschka. Hold from the backup Matt Hasselbeck, and his kick is good. We are tied at 10, and statistically, Seattle has no business being in the game. With 2:03 to go in the third, Seattle has come storming back, and we've got a ball game again. Hauschka drives one towards the end zone. On a hop to Van Buren, also a fabulous return man of the Hall of Famer, brings it back to the 24. Dixon with the tackle.
Really, if you're going to point the finger at anybody on the Eagles for why they are in this situation, you got to point at Randall Cunningham because of his 2 interceptions and really bad fumble, and that was almost an interception there to Richard Sherman.
Number 12 can't complete the pass.
And just a far cry from where he was last week when he went toe for toe against Tom Brady. We are tied at 10 in a game he'd love to forget about. A 7-yard completion to McDonald.
It seems like this all started happening when Mike Quick came out of the game, and the offense still hasn't been able to recover.
Eagles today 1 for 5 on 3rd down, and Cunningham's denied again. Tutupu with the deflection, and in comes Donnie Jones. Plenty of talent for the Eagles at the skill spots. We've seen Van Buren, McCoy, and Barkley all run well, but Cunningham has gotten the bulk of the workload in today's game with little to show for it. Weaver with the tackle on a return of 5.
And I think that they've gotten away from their bread and butter, being a running football team. It's something that they have to go back to because they have such talent at that position.
Speaking of a run-first football team, this is Alexander on the draw, and after a brutal first half, he has made amends in the third. 1st down.
Well, that's going to happen when you line up with 3 down linemen and a draw play, and the running back's going to easily find the position to carve up the defense.
A much more standard defensive formation there, and off the 4-3, Alexander picks up about 6. Seattle is the only franchise in this league this year with more rushing yards than passing yards, and it seems as though they're moving the ball much better when they feature this guy. 1st down, Sean Alexander. The 4th quarter from Seattle is coming up next. The Eagles and the Seahawks tied at 10. Welcome back, Nick Rice and Hank Cinnamon. Admittedly, not the most dazzling day out of these 2 quarterbacks in these 2 offenses. We've got a tight one nonetheless. Wilson checks it down to his fullback to begin the 4th quarter, and he does his very best. A gain of 4. Vincent wrestles him down.
Max Strong was one of those names in the early 2000s, like a Lorenzo Neal or a Marcel Reese, who you always knew that they were going to be a good fullback.
A check down to Baldwin for the gain of 2. We've got the best names in the league right now, Hank, with Mike Quick making plays and Max Strong making plays, doing so in the very way their last name indicates. Max Strong, 5 times named the most spirited Seahawk in the history of the franchise by season. He really was the prototypical Seattle Seahawk. A 3rd down, first conversion of the day for Seattle, a gain of 5 to Baldwin.
It's amazing Russell Wilson has only completed 6 out of 10 passes for 31 yards.
Russell Wilson is averaging a little over 120 pass yards per game. He isn't really used much either way. Instead, he is big at that, 31 yards on the ground.
Now, when you leave the middle of the field wide open, Russell Wilson is going to exploit that for a big gain.
Russell Wilson looks left, throws to Steve Largent. That is his first grab of the day. 8 yards and a 1st down.
Steve Largent, the Hall of Famer, did a really good job juking out the linebacker and just going to that out route for a big 1st down.
Draw, Sean Alexander, a block at the 15. Alexander to the 5. Touchdown, Seattle Seahawks.
It was bound to be a time where Sean Alexander was just going to get loose. The Eagles offense has lost the defense all morale because The defense had been doing a great job making stops, and the offense has just been playing this game of mess around and find out.
Extra point good from Hauschka, and after the Eagles shut down Alexander in the first half, he has erupted ever since. 72 yards today, including 65 of those in the second half. And Hauschka drives one down the field once again for Van Buren. That's a touchback here as the Seahawks have scored 10 unanswered, and that crowd is feeling it. 17-10 in the fourth quarter. And if you thought the pressure was on off the two Cunningham turnovers, certainly he's got to be feeling it now. He hands to one of the best single-season rushers in NFL history, 3-yard gain to the Saquon Barkley.
Saquon Barkley is a story that I think all Eagles fans are going to remember, in the sense of the narrative is he got rejected by the Giants because they thought that they didn't need him. But, based on the season he's had, the 2024 campaign, it's one of those things where the organization really can't talk about anything in that situation.
Barkley yet again sheds a tackle, but the Seahawks shut him down. Saquon Barkley's 2,005 rushing yards in 16 games puts him at 8th on the all-time single-season rushing list. And Hank, it doesn't miss me at all. The Eagles, who were pass-happy in the third quarter, all of a sudden down 7, go with 3 straight runs in the fourth quarter, and the Seahawks were all over it. A return of about 7 on this play from Ingram. And now that Eagle defense, which has certainly shown some lapses here in the second half, have got to figure out a way to stop that running game. They'll go run with Marshawn Lynch, and they stuff him there. Timeout.
Number 92, there for the tackle.
And you have about 3 minutes and 17 seconds for the Philadelphia Eagles to make a stop and score points, so that you can make this game more respectable and maybe take this game to overtime.
Back-to-back stops from arguably the greatest defensive end in NFL history, Reggie White. Alexander runs right into him for the third time. Number 92, Reggie White, one of the great pass rushers ever. He was stout against the run. Hank, no one better, and he just single-handedly forced the 3-and-out there.
Yeah, if I'm the Seahawks, I'm going to take as much time as I can for this punt. The Eagles essentially having 2 timeouts in their back pockets with that 2-minute warning, and we'll see what they can do here. Their drives have really stalled out since halftime, really.
Tackle here from the safety out of Arizona State, John Harris. A masterclass day punting the ball from Michael Dixon, a couple Coughlin corners, and also an average of 50 yards a punt today, and another good one there. Cunningham nearly picked off by Fred Young. I don't know what in the world's happened to this quarterback tonight.
Yeah, I think it's the lack of talent at wide receiver has really thinned out. You've got a lot of receivers from the 40s, 50s, and 60s playing at receiver at this point.
How about a tight end out of the late 80s, a 17-yarder to Keith Jackson? Somehow the guy with 208 yards passing, Hank, is trailing the guy with 39, but a big play there to Jackson.
Yeah. Keith Jackson was a guy on the Eagles who could always be relied upon at the tight end position. Fond memories of watching him play.
3-time Pro Bowler out of Oklahoma. Cunningham on a first down finds Pijos over the middle, his 5th grab of the day, first of the second half. No huddle. Under 2 minutes left. High drama from Seattle, a place the Eagles have had a tough time winning. Over the middle to Van Buren for another first down. Fred Young with the tackle. Randall Cunningham on that pass went over 2,500 yards this year. Incomplete. Van Buren the target.
Bad pass by Cunningham, but it being incomplete is not the worst thing in the world because you just stopped the clock.
The Seahawks have come storming back into the lead. They're one stop away from a big win at home. And that pass appears to be in the field of play to Pete Pijos. It is secured, confirmed by the officials, and indeed they've got to run the no huddle. 1:21 to go on this snap to Cunningham over the middle of the tight end. That's complete to Pete Retzlaff. And Philadelphia's disastrous red zone numbers have been a big reason why they trailed tonight. At the 5-yard line, Cunningham with time gets rid of it right into harm's way, nearly picked off. This may be the biggest play of the night. They need the 2 for the first down, 5 yards of the end zone. Cunningham looks, still looking, you'll tuck it and run, and Randall Cunningham is in the end zone. Touchdown, Philadelphia.
I was waiting for this guy to actually try to use his legs, which he used very sparingly in this game. Expected more of what Russell Wilson did with his legs from Randall Cunningham, but that's a great way to get them on the board. And now the Eagles just have to play defense with the Seahawks having to score 3 points with 3 timeouts remaining.
Just the third run of the day, to your point, Hank, and it's a big one to tie the game. In a showdown between 2 of the great dual threats in NFL history, Randall Cunningham, who ranks number 5 among quarterbacks in rush yards in this league, and Russell Wilson, who ranks number 4, fittingly, both use their legs to try and win the game here. It's Cunningham for the tie, and we'll see if Wilson uses them for the win. 3 timeouts in a little under a minute. Screen past Alexander. His big night continues as he's down the sideline. Shoved out by Jenkins, but he got even more yardage there. A gain of 36 on the play.
Yes, the screen pass for a team with a great pass rush can just be a killer. And Sean Alexander and the Seahawks exploit that for a big first down.
The 2005 NFL MVP with a Hall of Fame night to try and will the Seahawks. And Wilson's taken down. They ran a corner blitz with Lito Shepherd, well timed and well executed.
5-yard loss on the play.
Second down and 15 to go. Shepherd on the blitz again. This time Darrell Jackson's run out of bounds at the 43. The Seahawks have had the better of all but one team this year at home. They are as good as anybody at home at 4-1 this season. They are 0-6 on the road, but they look like a totally different team again tonight. Wilson fires. Largent comes back to make the catch, and the Seahawks are in field goal range. What a nightmare drive as the Eagles can't seem to stop any of the targets, even Alexander on the screen. Wilson trying to go for it all in the end zone. Incomplete. What a dramatic close of this football game tonight. Nick Rice and Hank Cinnamon were tied at 17. Hauschka well within field goal range going in, but Wilson is sacked here with 15 seconds to go. And now Russell Wilson of the Seahawks are not going to run a play here. Brown with the sack, and we are down to Hauschka for the win. This is a 50-yard field goal attempt off the Seahawk timeout. This would match his longest make of the year. Hold from Hasselbeck. The kick from 50, and he blew it. Wide left, and we're going to overtime.
The field goal attempt is no good.
Overtime coming up next, 17-17. Welcome back. Nick Rice, Hank Cinnamon from Quest Field. The 12th man silent after the Hauschka miss as Westbrook downs it for a touchback. And Hank, that is one of the biggest misses I've seen out of Hauschka all year. That was not close.
That's just got to be a completely demoralizing play for you to have taken that sack when you were in field goal range after an amazing catch by Largent at the sideline. You're thinking to yourself, we're going to kick this field goal and we're going to win this ball game.
And instead, Philadelphia, after winning the toss, has a chance to close it on offense. Gut run to Barkley, his 5th carry of the day, and a pickup of 5. They have gone with a platoon tonight, Hank Cinnamon. There are 3 very talented backs. Early in the year, Van Buren struggled, but with Barkley and McCoy in there, they have run the ball efficiently. Cunningham's run it well as well, and he's got more than enough for an Eagles first down.
I've always been a big fan of the running back by committee. The Eagles have had some of their best seasons when they've done the running back by committee.
They've got plenty of talent at their disposal in the running back position. And Cunningham is a good runner too. He'll do it again outside of the 50, and he's got a lot on this run all the way to the Seahawk 25.
That's a big play there. Randall Cunningham has done a really poor job throwing the football, and the Seahawks have been giving him great lanes. They haven't been protecting the end positions, and he's just been exploiting that.
And on this overtime drive, 2 back-breaking runs has put them in field goal range with David Akers. Another run, this time with Van Buren, who's wrapped up at the 16. And Philadelphia's going to take no chances. David Akers for the win. He is 20 of 21 on field goals this year. Hold from McNabb, and the Eagles come back to win it in overtime.
What an amazing job in overtime by getting first downs and getting big runs and getting into field goal range so you can get a good field goal by Akers.
The Seahawks fall to 4-8 after an absolutely heartbreaking missed field goal from Hauschka on the final play of overtime. Dave Brown of the Seahawks with a valiant effort, but the Eagles with a huge win on the road improve to 6-6 and keep their postseason hopes alive. For the rest of our crew, Nick Rice, Hank Cinnamon saying so long from Seattle. This is the all-time rosters franchise, Charge 2 9.